The first time my daughter asked if she
I'm
was
not
dirty,
dirty.
Hermione had already planned for it. She just didn't tell us.
Ugh.
And she left the instructions in a place no one thought to look. I found them 3 weeks after she died. Hidden in estate documents I was sorting through for the lawyers. Tucked between tax records and property deeds like they were just another piece of paperwork. But they weren't. They were a roadmap, a strategy, a posthumous manipulation so calculated it made everything else she'd done look like practice. And the worst part? She'd been right. About all of it. If you've been following this family through 6 parts of corporate warfare and manipulation and lies, if you've watched us survive everything Hermione threw at us, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what I'm about to tell you will prove that even death couldn't stop her from controlling our lives. And the conspiracy she predicted is happening exactly as she planned. Right now, while we're too distracted to see it. It started like this. Neri came home from preschool on a Tuesday afternoon. Normal day, normal pickup, normal everything. Except she went straight to the bathroom. Didn't say hello, didn't ask for a snack. Just walked past me like I wasn't there. I followed her, found her at the sink, scrubbing her hands. Hard. With soap. Over and over. Baby, what are you doing? She didn't look up. Just kept scrubbing. Washing. You're going to hurt yourself. That's too much soap. But I need to get clean. Something in her voice made my stomach drop. That small, confused tone. Like she was trying to solve a problem she didn't understand. Why do you need to get so clean? She finally looked up. Those big dark eyes. Half mine, half Minjae's. All confused. Jaehoon said I'm dirty. Because I'm brown. He said Korean kids are clean because they're white. And I'm brown so I'm dirty. So I need to wash more. The world stopped. My 2-year-old daughter, my baby, was scrubbing her brown skin raw because some 4-year-old told her it was dirty. I lifted her out, turned off the water, wrapped her little hands in a towel. Listen to me very carefully. You are not dirty. Your skin is beautiful. Brown is beautiful. You are perfect exactly as you are. Do you understand? She nodded. But I could see it. The seed of doubt. Already planted. Already growing. Am I really Korean? She asked. Yes, baby. You're Korean. And Nigerian. Both. But Jaehoon said I'm not really Korean because I'm brown. He said only white people are really Korean. I wanted to scream. Wanted to find this 4-year-old Jaehoon and his parents and everyone who'd taught him that brownness meant foreignness. Wanted to burn down the whole fucking system that made my baby question her belonging. But I couldn't. Because she was 2. And she needed me calm. Needed me to fix this without scaring her more. Jaehoon is wrong, I said. You are Korean. You were born here. Your appa is Korean. Your last name is Kong. You are as Korean as anyone else. Don't let anyone tell you different. She seemed satisfied. Went back to playing. But I wasn't satisfied. I was furious. Minjae came home an hour later. Found me in the kitchen, slamming cabinet doors. Angry chopping vegetables. What's wrong? I told him. Every word. Every detail. Every implication. He went very still. That particular CEO stillness that meant he was processing. Calculating. Deciding. What did the teacher say, he asked. I don't know yet. Neri didn't tell the teacher. Just came home and tried to wash it off. We need to go to the school. Tomorrow. First thing. I want to go now. The school is closed. We go tomorrow. Together. Calmly. We document everything. We make sure this gets addressed properly. Properly. I laughed. Bitter. Our daughter was told she's dirty because she's brown and you want to handle it properly? Yes. Because if we handle it emotionally, they'll dismiss us. If we handle it strategically, they'll have to take us seriously. You sound like your mother. The words came out before I could stop them. Harsh. Accusatory. He flinched. What? You sound like Hermione. Everything's strategy. Everything's calculation. Our daughter is hurting, and you're thinking about documentation and proper channels. That's not fair, isn't it? She would have said the same thing. Handle it strategically. Control the narrative. Document everything. When do we just get to be angry? When do we get to feel? He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something I wasn't expecting. My mother used to say the world would test our children harder than it tested us. I didn't understand what she meant. Not really. But I think she knew. She knew Neri would face this. She knew people would question whether she belongs. She knew we'd have to fight for her in ways we never had to fight for Jian. How did she know? Because she understood Korea. Understood how this country works. How bloodline matters. How appearance matters. How being different, being mixed, would make Neri a target. I remembered something else Halmiani had said once. Months ago, before she died. If they attack the bloodline, they attack the company. I thought she was being paranoid, seeing corporate warfare where there was just family. But now, looking at Min-jae's face, seeing his wheels turn, I wondered if she'd been right. You think this is about more than racism, I said. I think racism is always about power. And in our family, power means company control. So yes, I think anyone who attacks our children is also attacking our position. That's paranoid. Is it? Or is it just realistic? He pulled out his phone, started scrolling. Look at the timing. Neri's first year of preschool. Right when the board is discussing long-term succession. Right when investors are asking questions about family stability. Right when... Stop. I couldn't hear this. Couldn't process that my daughter's racism might be calculated, orchestrated, used. I'm just saying we need to be aware. No, you're saying our daughter's pain is a corporate strategy. And I won't think like that. She's 2 years old. She's hurting. And I need to protect her as a mother, not as a CEO's wife. He nodded. Put the phone away. You're right. Tomorrow we go to the school. As parents, we protect our daughter. Everything else can wait. But everything else didn't wait. Because the next day at the school meeting, I realized Halmiani had been right about everything. We sat in Principal Kang's office at 2 p.m. Yes, Principal Kang. Because Seoul is both massive and microscopic when you're connected. She greeted us with elaborate bows. Too elaborate. Performative. Mr. and Mrs. Kang. Thank you for coming. I understand there was an incident. A child told my daughter she was dirty because she's brown. I said, let's not call it an incident. Let's call it racism. Principal Kang's smile tightened. I wouldn't characterize it that way. Children are naturally curious about differences. Don't. Min-jae's voice was cold. Don't minimize this. A child made my daughter feel ashamed of her skin color. That's racism, not curiosity. Perhaps we should discuss this with Teacher Kim present, Principal Kang suggested. Teacher Kim came in. Young, nervous, bowing too much. The meeting went exactly as you'd expect. Lots of children notice differences, and we teach diversity, and perhaps Neri might be more comfortable at an international school. All the coded language. All the polite suggestions that meant, your black child doesn't belong here. But then something happened that made my blood run cold. One of the other parents was waiting outside the office. Wealthy. Designer handbag. Cold eyes. She smiled at Min-jae. Ignored me. Mr. Kang. I hope this situation gets resolved quickly. Kang Tech needs stability. Not controversy. The words were casual. Polite. But they landed like a threat. Min-jae's face went very still. Excuse me. I'm just saying. Investors are watching. The board has concerns. Family matters that become public matters can affect stock prices. I'm sure you understand. She walked away before he could respond. Who was that? I asked. Lee Yuna. Her husband is on the board. And she just made it very clear this isn't just about school. This is about the company. We drove home in silence. Both processing. Both realizing that Halmiani's paranoia might have been preparation. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about what that woman said. About timing. About corporate strategy. At 2 a.m., I got up. Went to Min-jae's home office. Started going through the boxes of Halmiani's estate documents we'd been avoiding. Tax records. Property deeds. Investment portfolios. And then, at the bottom of one box, a sealed envelope. Cream-colored. Expensive paper. Halmiani's handwriting. For when they questioned the children. My hands shook opening it. Inside were 5 documents. The first was titled, Diversity Investment Contingency Plan. It outlined a strategy for if and when the children faced racial discrimination. How to respond. How to manage media. How to position the family as progressive while maintaining corporate stability. It was dated 3 years ago, before Neri was even born. The second document was a pre-written PR strategy. Word for word. Talking points about mixed-race heirs. About Korea's changing demographics. About global markets requiring global families. Marketing language. Corporate spin. For our children's racism. The third was a list. Names. Board members. Investors. Business partners. All marked with notes. Will exploit racial narrative. Uncomfortable with mixed succession. May use children as leverage. Halmiani had profiled everyone. Predicted who would weaponize our family's diversity. The fourth document made me stop breathing. It was a threat assessment. Director Choi's name was circled, but crossed out, with a note, Neutralized. See Part 6. She'd planned for him, anticipated his moves, set up the confession that exposed him. But there was another name. Highlighted, not crossed out. Lee Sung-min. Wife, Lee Yuna. Board position, investment committee chair. Vulnerability, traditional succession bias. Predicted move, use multicultural optics to destabilize confidence. Lee Sung-min, the husband of the woman who'd threatened Min Jae at school. Halmiani had predicted this. All of it. The racism, the corporate connection, the board member who'd use it. 3 years ago, before Neri was born, the fifth document was a single page. A note, in Halmiani's handwriting. Ade, if you're reading this, it means the attacks have begun. They will come disguised as social concern, as education policy, as parent worry, but they are corporate strategy. Lee Sung-min wants Min Jae removed. He will use the children to do it. Specifically Neri, because mixed-race succession creates doubt among traditional investors. Doubt creates instability. Instability creates opportunity. For takeover. For removal. For everything I've spent my life preventing. You now have the information I had. The question is, what will you do with it? Will you fight emotionally? Or strategically? Your choice will determine if this family survives. Choose wisely. I read it 3 times. Then I ran to wake up Min Jae. Hit that like button if you've ever discovered that someone predicted your crisis before you even knew you'd have one. Because what Halmiani left behind was more than information. It was a test. And I was about to find out if I could pass it. She knew. I was pacing Min Jae's bedroom. 3 a.m. Papers everywhere. She knew exactly what would happen. Who would do it? How they'd use our children. Min Jae was reading the documents. Face getting paler. This is dated 3 years ago. Before we even knew we were having Neri. She predicted it anyway. Predicted that having a mixed-race biological heir would create vulnerability. Predicted Lee Sung-min would exploit it. Predicted everything. Why didn't she tell us? Because she wanted us to figure it out ourselves. Because I grabbed the note. Because she wanted to know if we'd fight emotionally or strategically. She's still testing us. From the grave. That's insane. That's Halmiani. I sat on the bed. But she was right. About Lee Sung-min. About the timing. About using racism as corporate strategy. That woman at school, Lee Yuna, she threatened you. Said the company needs stability. That was a warning. A message from her husband through her. But how does this help us? Knowing she predicted it doesn't stop it from happening. It helps because she left instructions. I pulled out the PR strategy document. Look, she outlined exactly how to respond. How to control the narrative. How to turn their attacks against them. He read it. This is comprehensive. She planned every statement. Every media appearance. Every move in the chess game. That's what she does. That's what she always did. So we follow her plan? I don't know. I looked at the note again. Will you fight emotionally? Or strategically? She's asking us to choose. What's the difference? Emotional means we do what we want. Protect Neri however feels right. Fight because we're angry and hurt and don't care about consequences. Strategic means we follow her plan. Control the narrative. Position ourselves. Win the corporate game, even if it means treating our daughter's pain as a PR opportunity. Those both sound terrible. Because they are. She's asking us to choose between being parents and being players. Between protecting our child and protecting our position. Can't we do both? I don't think so. Not the way she's framed it. Emotional response is authentic but vulnerable. Strategic response is effective but manipulative. We can't be both. He was quiet for a long time. Then, what do you want to do? I want to burn it all down. I want to walk into Lee Sung-min's office and tell him exactly what I think of him using my daughter's racism as corporate strategy. I want to make this so public and so ugly that everyone sees what he's doing. I want emotional. Messy. True. But I also want to win. I want to protect our family. I want to make sure Neri grows up with a father who's still CEO. With security. With power. And Halmiani's strategic approach gives us the best chance of that. So what do? I looked at the documents. At Halmiani's careful handwriting. At 3 years of planning compressed into 5 pieces of paper. We do something she didn't plan for, I said. We do both. 2 days later, someone leaked the school confrontation video. I knew it was coming. Halmiani's documents had predicted it. Expect media leak within 72 hours of initial incident. Response protocol, page 8. But knowing it was coming didn't make it less devastating. The video showed me standing in Principal Kang's office. Angry. Pointing. Saying my daughter doesn't need to leave. It cut off before the context. Before the explanation. Just showed. Angry black woman. Aggressive. Unreasonable. Foreign. The headline. Context: CEO's wife causes scene at elite preschool over discipline issue. Discipline issue. Not racism. Discipline. The comments were exactly what you'd expect. Split perfectly along lines Halmiani had predicted. Korean conservative media. American wife doesn't understand Korean education. Mixed children create confusion. International progressive media. Black mother fights racism in Korean school system. CEO family takes stand. Two narratives. Two audiences. Both being used. I checked Halmiani's PR strategy. Page 8. When media leak occurs, do not respond immediately. Let narrative develop for 48 hours. Monitor which version spreads faster. Then position response to whichever narrative gained more traction. If conservative narrative dominates, emphasize family stability and Korean values. If progressive narrative dominates, emphasize diversity and global leadership. Never respond to both simultaneously. Choose your audience. Choose your audience. Strategic, calculated, effective, and completely soulless. But then I noticed something. In the video, in the background, behind me and Principal Kang, on the wall, a poster. School donors. Lee Sung-min's name. Second largest donor. He'd been funding the school. For years. His children didn't even go there. He was just funding it. I pulled out Halmiani's threat assessment. Found the note about Lee Sung-min. Controls 3 private schools in Gangnam. Uses education connections to influence wealthy families. Will weaponize parent networks against targets. She'd known. She'd known he controlled the school. Knew he'd positioned himself to create exactly this situation. Neri wasn't just experiencing random racism. She was experiencing orchestrated racism. Set up. Planned. Used. My baby. My 2-year-old. Was a pawn in corporate warfare. I called Min Jae. Lee Sung-min funds Neri's school. Halmiani knew. It's in the documents. Silence. Then, he positioned himself years ago. Waiting. For what? For us to have a mixed child. For her to attend school. For racism to be inevitable. And then, his voice was hollow. Then he'd use it. Use her pain. Use our reaction. Use everything to destabilize confidence in family succession. That's evil. That's strategy. That's what Halmiani would have done if she needed to remove a competitor. Are you saying she'd do this to a child? I'm saying she'd do anything to protect the company. And she recognized the same quality in Lee Sung-min. That's why she flagged him. That's why she left us instructions. Because she knew he'd come for us eventually. And she knew he'd use the children to do it. So what do? We have 2 options. Follow her strategic plan. Control the narrative. Win the corporate game. Or we do what she didn't plan for. We expose him. Publicly. Completely. We make it so ugly and so obvious that everyone sees what he's doing. We sacrifice corporate stability for moral victory. She'd say that's emotional. That's losing. Maybe. But maybe there's a third way. Maybe we can be strategic about being emotional. Calculated about being authentic. Use her tools, but play our game. How? I don't know yet. But we have 46 hours before we're supposed to respond according to her plan. Let's figure it out. We didn't sleep that night. Just planned. Strategized. Tried to find a way to honor both approaches. And then, at 4 a.m., Jin woke up. Came into the office where we were working. Why are you awake? Min Jae asked. Why are you? Jin countered. 8 years old. Too smart. We're working on something. About Neri. About the school. The video? Jin asked. You saw it. Kids at my school are talking about it. They're asking if Neri is really my sister. If she's really Korean. If his voice broke. If our family is real or fake. I pulled him close. Our family is real. More real than any of them. Then why does everyone keep questioning it? Because people are scared of things that are different. And we're different. And that scares them. I'm tired of being different, Jin said. I'm tired of people asking questions. I'm tired of Neri getting hurt. Can't we just be normal? No, Min Jae said. We can't. Because normal means everyone looks the same and thinks the same and never questions anything. And that's not us. We're better than normal. We're real. Jin nodded. Then, Halmiani used to say that difference is power. That being unexpected is an advantage. She did, I said. When did she tell you that? Last year. When kids were asking about me being adopted, she said people who question you are giving you information about their fears, about their weaknesses, and if you're smart, you use that information. I looked at Min-jae. He looked at me. Halmiani had been preparing Jin too, teaching him, even as a child. Go back to bed, bug, Min-jae said. We'll handle this. Jin left, and I realized something. She taught all of us, I said, in different ways. She taught you corporate strategy. She taught me to question everything. She taught Jin to see patterns. She was preparing us, all of us, for this. So we use what she taught us. But we use it our way, not hers. How? We expose Lee Sung-min. But we do it strategically. We document everything. We build a case. We make it so obvious and so public that he can't hide. But we do it through official channels. Through media. Through legal action. We don't burn it down. We dismantle it. Piece by piece. Using her tools, but serving our goals. I pulled out the documents. Started reading again. Looking for what she'd missed. Where her plan was vulnerable. And I found it. Page 12. Her contingency assessment. Primary risk. If family chooses to fight both emotionally and strategically, plan becomes unpredictable. Cannot account for authentic emotion combined with calculated action. Recommend against this approach as too volatile. She'd identified the risk, but she hadn't planned for it. Because she didn't think we'd do it. Didn't think we could do it. Thought we'd have to choose. She was wrong, I said. She thought we'd pick one or the other. But we don't have to. We can be angry and strategic, authentic and calculated. We can use her tools without following her rules. That's risky. Everything's risky. But at least this way we're playing our game. Not hers. Not Lee Sung-min's. Ours. Subscribe right now because what we're about to do will either save this family or destroy it. And honestly, I don't know which. But I know we're done playing by Halmiani's rules. We're done choosing between parents and players. We're going to be both. And hell is coming for everyone who thought our love made us weak. 3 days later, we were ready. We'd documented everything. Lee Sung-min's funding of the school, his board position, his past attempts to destabilize Min-jae's leadership, the timing of Neri's incident with his wife's threat. All of it. We'd also watched the media narratives develop exactly as Halmiani predicted. Conservative Korean media was winning. The story becoming, wife overreacts. Mixed children cause problems. Kong-tech instability. According to Halmiani's plan, we were supposed to pivot now. Emphasize Korean values. Traditional family stability. Win back conservative support. We did the opposite. Min-jae called a press conference. Personal, not corporate. But unlike last time, this wasn't just emotional honesty. This was strategic emotional honesty. He stood at the podium. I stood beside him. Neri in my arms. Good evening. I'm here to discuss my daughter. And corporate warfare. And how they're connected. The room went quiet. 3 days ago, my 2-year-old daughter was told by a classmate that she was dirty because her skin is brown. When my wife and I went to address this with the school, we were told perhaps our daughter would be more comfortable at an international school. Code 4. Your black child doesn't belong here. Cameras flashed. Reporters wrote. What you don't know is that this wasn't random. The school where this happened is funded by Lee Sung-min, a member of Kong-tech's board. A man who has opposed mixed-race succession since my daughter was born. A man who has spent 3 years positioning himself to use my children as weapons against me. I saw reporters' faces change. This wasn't a racism story anymore. This was corporate scandal. I have documentation, funding records, meeting minutes, communications between board members discussing how to manage the mixed air problem. I have evidence that my daughter's preschool experience was orchestrated, planned, used. He pulled out papers, showed them to cameras. Lee Sung-min wanted to create a situation where my family looked unstable, where having a black daughter seemed like a liability, where traditional investors would question succession. And he succeeded. The media narrative is exactly what he wanted. Controversy, questions, doubt. He paused. But here's what he didn't plan for. My mother, the late Kong Halmiani, predicted this. 3 years ago, before my daughter was born, she left me documents outlining exactly what would happen, who would do it, how they'd use racism as strategy. And she left me a choice. Fight emotionally, or fight strategically. He looked at me. I nodded. I'm choosing both. I'm choosing to be angry about racism, to fight for my daughter's dignity, to make sure every mixed child in Korea knows they belong. That's the emotional fight. He held up more documents. But I'm also choosing to be strategic, to expose Lee Sung-min's manipulation, to make it so public and so documented that no board can ignore it, to use his own weapons against him. That's the strategic fight. He looked directly at the camera. My mother taught me that power is information, that whoever controls the narrative wins. She's right. But she didn't teach me that you can control the narrative with truth, that authentic emotion can be strategic if you document it, that being a good father and being a good CEO aren't contradictions. He held Neri higher. This is my daughter, Kong Neri. She is Korean. She is Nigerian. She is mine. And anyone who uses her pain for corporate gain is going to face both her father's rage and her father's strategy. Simultaneously. Completely. Without mercy. The room erupted. Questions. Chaos. But we walked off. Didn't answer. Just left them with the information. The documents. The truth. In the car, I asked, did that work? I don't know. But it felt right. For the first time since my mother died, something felt right instead of calculated. She'd say we made a mistake, that we revealed too much, that we should have controlled the narrative more carefully. Maybe. But she's dead. And we're alive. And we get to make our own mistakes now. My phone buzzed. Text from Co Rin. That was brilliant. The video is everywhere. International news picking it up. You just made racism and corporate corruption the story. Both simultaneously. Another text. From a number I didn't recognize. Interesting choice. Authentic strategy. I didn't think you had it in you. But you're still vulnerable. You showed all your cards. Which means you better win. Because if you don't, you just gave away everything. Hey, who's A? Min-jae asked. I don't know. But they're right. We just bet everything. If this doesn't work, we're exposed. Vulnerable. Lee Sung-min will know exactly how to attack us now. Then it has to work. Over the next 48 hours, 3 things happened. First, the international media ran with it. Korean corporate leader exposes board members' racist strategy. CEO fights racism and corporate corruption simultaneously. Kongtaek family takes on traditional power structure. Second, Korean conservative media had to pivot. Couldn't ignore the corporate scandal. Couldn't defend Lee Sung-min without looking like they supported using children as corporate weapons. Third, the board called an emergency meeting. But before the meeting, I found something else in Halmiani's documents. A second page, hidden in the envelope, folded so small I'd missed it the first time. I unfolded it. The handwriting was shakier, like she'd written it later, when she was sicker. Ade, if you're reading this page, it means you chose to fight both emotionally and strategically. It means you ignored my advice about choosing. Good. I hoped you would. I built the plan assuming you'd follow it. But I secretly hoped you'd be brave enough to break it. To be better than I was. To fight with both heart and mind instead of just mind. If I'm dead when this happens, it means they moved earlier than expected. Which means Lee Sung-min isn't acting alone. Check the international holdings. London. Someone is funding him. Someone bigger. Someone I couldn't identify before I died. But they're there. Waiting. Using Lee Sung-min as a proxy. Using racism as distraction. While they position for takeover. The real attack isn't coming from Korea. It's coming from outside. And I ran out of time to stop it. You'll have to finish what I started. Sorry I can't help more. But you're stronger than I was. You have what I never did. Authentic love combined with strategic mind. Use both. Win. H. My hands were shaking. Min-jae. What? There's more. She wrote more. There's someone else. Someone funding Lee Sung-min. Someone in London. London? Why? He stopped. Face going pale. Co Rin is in London half the time. Her job. Her life. She has connections there. You think she's involved? No. But I think whoever's behind this knows she's there. Knows our connections. Knows our vulnerabilities. He pulled out his phone. Called his financial team. I need a report on all international stock purchases. Specifically London-based entities. Any unusual activity in the past 6 months. I need it in 2 hours. He hung up. Looked at me. If Halmiani couldn't identify them before she died, they're hidden. Shell companies. Proxies. Layers of ownership. But they're real. They're real. And they've been planning this longer than we knew. Using racism as distraction. Using Lee Sung-min as the visible threat. While the real threat buys shares quietly. Positions for takeover. Waits. How do we fight what we can't see? We make them reveal themselves. We force them to move. and we watch where the money goes. 2 hours later, we had the report. 3 London-based firms had purchased Contact shares. Small amounts, different times, seemingly unconnected. But when you trace the ownership backward through shell companies and holding firms and international proxies, they all led to the same place. Apex Capital Holdings, a firm we'd never heard of, with no public information, no website, no press releases, just money, buying our company, slowly, quietly. How much do they own? I asked. Combined? About 15%. Not enough to control, but enough to influence. Enough to matter in a board vote. When did they start buying? 6 months ago, right after my mother died. Like they were waiting for her protection to end. I looked at the timeline, at the purchases, at the pattern. They'd been careful, strategic, patient, just like Halmiani. And suddenly I understood. They're using her playbook, I said. Whoever this is, they studied her, learned from her. They knew she was the threat, waited for her to die, then used her own strategies against us. Who would know her strategies that well? Someone who worked with her, someone who learned from her, someone she trained. We looked at each other. G1, we said simultaneously. Min Jae's sister, the one who'd embezzled, the one who'd been exiled, the one who'd tried to come back and failed. She'd worked with Halmiani for years. Before the betrayal, before the exile, she'd learned everything. But she's in. I pulled out my phone. Searched. She's in London. She moved there after we exiled her the second time. And she knows our vulnerabilities. Knows the board. Knows the company. Knows. Min Jae's voice was hollow. Knows exactly how to destroy us because she's family. Because she learned from the best. My phone buzzed. Text from the same unknown number. Hey, you figured it out. Faster than I expected. Yes, it's me. G1. And yes, I've been planning this since you threw me out. I learned from the best. Your husband's mother taught me everything, including how to be patient, how to use proxies, how to make enemies destroy themselves while you watch from a distance. I'm in London, with my son, with money I've been saving for years, with connections I've been building, and with enough shares now to matter. The board meeting is in 3 days. Lee Sung-min will propose a vote of no confidence. He'll cite the racism controversy, the media attention, the family instability, and I'll vote with him, along with the other investors I've been quietly recruiting. And your husband will lose. Not to direct attack, but to slow accumulation of power while you were distracted by racism and press conferences and trying to be good parents. Halmiani was right. You can't fight emotionally and strategically at the same time. You have to choose. I chose strategy. You chose heart. Let's see who wins. G1. I showed Min Jae. He read it twice. Then said, we have 3 days. To do what? To beat my sister at a game my mother invented, with tools we're still learning to use, while protecting our children from being used as weapons. That's impossible. Maybe, but impossible is all we have left. Comment below if you've ever realized the person you thought you defeated was just waiting for you to drop your guard. Because G1 didn't lose. She just retreated. And now she's back. With Halmiani's playbook. And 6 months of preparation. And 3 days until she takes everything. Hit that subscribe button and share to more viewers. Because part 8 is coming. And it's going to be war. Corporate. Emotional. Strategic. Personal. Everything. Simultaneously. And I have no idea if we survive. See you in part 8.